everybody, my name's Eric Hopkins, and this is my good buddy Brandon, and this is our weekly pro wrestling recap show here on the channel that releases every Thursday morning, so definitely follow us to keep an eye out for that. If you're finding us for the very first time, please click that like and subscribe button, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you get all the notifications about when we put up new content right here on this channel. So this is our weekly wrestling recap show where we go over all the shows that happen in WWE and AEW throughout the week. Of course, we're not going to be going over Smackdown and Rampage this week because I went over those shows when I did our review for SummerSlam and NXT TakeOver 36. So if you want to check out those reviews, go over and check that review out here on the channel. But we are going to be getting into Raw, NXT, and of course AEW Dynamite for this week. So let's get going here before we run too late here. Of course, we're kind of starting this a little late in the evening. We don't want to run all night long, but so let's get into Monday Night Raw. Opening promo segment had MVP and Bobby Lashley. MVP says Goldberg is still a worthy opponent. Pause for dramatic effect. So yeah, there's that. Oldberg, as I like to call him, the guy who nearly killed Bobby Lashley at SummerSlam. He's still a quality opponent. If you watch that show, you know what I'm talking about. Bobby Lashley about broke his neck and head at one point when Goldberg threw him off the top rope. Did you see that? I know you wasn't.
Man, I watched that shit.
I don't blame you. So yeah, MVP says no one has been able to beat him until he met Lashley. I guess we're completely forgetting about Drew McIntyre beating Goldberg at the Royal Rumble. Then is that what we're doing? So. Yeah. So other than that, no follow-up with Bill Goldberg avenging his son after he got, choked out in the Hurt Lock by Bobby Lashley. So I guess we're not following that up this week? I guess
we shouldn't. We shouldn't. We should have never followed it up because it should have never happened.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that feud just needs to
move on and pretend like it didn't exist.
Well, Goldberg at SummerSlam is yelling at Bobby, "I'm going to kill you," when they went off their segment. So this must continue.
That's murder, and you can't do that.
So, I mean, I'm assuming we'll get this again at some point, but for whatever reason, much like John Cena, Goldberg is not probably got any, maybe don't even have any plans anytime in the near future. But if he does, let's hope that's the case. Yeah, John Cena, I mean, I would rather he stick around more than Bill Goldberg because I think John Cena can still wrestle.
Do you know why, though? Because John Cena hasn't almost killed somebody. Not once, but twice. Because you remember that Saudi Arabia show?
Oh, the Taker?
With Undertaker.
Yeah, the Jackhammer?
God.
Oh, God. Yeah, I understand. I mean, let's not, mince words here. Goldberg was never the greatest wrestler. Not even in his prime.
It's good for what he needed to be.
Right, for what he did. Yeah, absolutely. But, yeah, as a pro wrestler in general, no. Was he a big, hulky dude who could move a lot more than he can now and, do feats of strength? Absolutely. And to be honest, and the gimmick he had didn't really require him to do long professional wrestling matches either. So that's what they should be doing with him now. But for whatever reason, I will say this about him at SummerSlam. He did do a longer match than he normally does, which is probably why it didn't go so well. But that wasn't the only reason, I'm sure. But yeah, so move on. I think it's time to just stop. This promo from MVP and Bobby Lashley was to set up a Bobby Lashley versus Damien Priest match, because Damien Priest interrupted. Why are you booking two of your champions against one another, guaranteeing that one of them is going to lose? That's my first question. You just put the title on Damien Priest, who has not lost yet on the main roster, so that's a plus. But you book him in a singles match here, and that is only going to guarantee someone loses. So Bobby Lashley was actually dressed in a suit during this promo. He had to literally go backstage, change real fast to get another full entrance before the match even started. So that was weird. Like, it was almost like he didn't know he was going to be in the opening match of the show, which I get, like, maybe, in storyline, I get it. They kind of just spur the moment thing.
Yeah.
But it was weird to have him have to go back, change real quick, come right back out, commercial break sort of thing.
He's not going to wrestle in a suit.
Well, yeah, you would think. I mean, I've seen other guys kind of do that on the fly, but I don't blame you here for not wanting to do that. So we had Damien Priest defeating Bobby Lashley via a disqualification, though. Sheamus attacked Damien Priest, and that caused a distraction, and Drew McIntyre come out to make the save. So, as Teddy Long once said, we're going to get ourselves a tag team match. Yeah, so immediately we get another match here with Damien Priest and Drew McIntyre. They defeat Bobby Lashley and Sheamus. Bobby Lashley leaves Sheamus high and dry and just leaves.
As he should have.
Agreed. Drew McIntyre hit a Claymore on Sheamus for the pinfall. But technically, even though they didn't quite book it terribly, Bobby Lashley loses two matches in a row here to start Monday Night Raw. One via DQ and one because his partner lost. So, interesting. It's not like I said.
He didn't get pinned.
Right,
Like,
I understand
I
that.
get it. And like the whole him leaving, Sheamus is like, well, this is your fault. You interjected yourself in a situation you didn't need to be. So I'm out.
It did make him look in the worst of lights, that's for sure. They booked
Mm-hmm.
it probably the best way you could book that, but technically, he lost 2 matches in a row. So it's like, okay. So yeah, he did leave, but technically, on Raw, and SmackDown for that matter, wins don't matter. So I guess it's not that big of a deal to these people in this company for sure. I view it as a little bit more of an issue because it's the WWE champion, but at least he didn't look weak in this scenario. I'll say that much. Outside of the technicality of the losses, we had Dewdrop was backstage. Was given an interview. She says she's officially broken away from Eva Marie, but says she still wants to be called Dewdrop, saying that's who she really is. Really? So. Sure. I guess we're just never going to call her Piper Niven. This was the perfect opportunity to do that, get rid of this stupid name. But WWE loves this name apparently, so they're going to make her stick with it. So she was attacked by Eva Marie after this, so this must continue. They set up a one-on-one match for Raw next week, so yay. Just for the life of me, I can understand why she still want to be called Dewdrop. That makes no sense. Carrion Cross looks like Shredder from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, complete with red suspenders. I still wonder
hold on, man. Don't act like Shredder looked like a chump. He looked pretty dope.
Agreed, but yeah, I mean, to me, more honest, he probably looks more
like a weird mix between the Demolition and the Road Warrior.
Yeah, a little red thrown in the Demolition gear.
It's basically like they weren't sure what they really wanted and just combined the two.
Yeah, pretty much. I ain't gonna lie though, I still kind of am intrigued by the idea of making Mason T-Bar to be out to be Bebop and Rocksteady and just complete the whole thing. But listen,
I would love to see that. Okay, if
we're gonna go there, let's go there. I mean.
Yeah, go big or go home, man.
Exactly. So yeah, he had complete with red suspenders, and of course the mask with the red and the black. Again, looks like Demolition.
All right, I will say this. I'm not gonna sit here and shit on his whole outfit because it wasn't bad. It didn't impede him from doing anything. It's not like it's a terrible aesthetic from what he already has. They just added suspenders to
the suspenders, which broke during the match, by the way.
Yeah.
It's just like
I don't know why you kept them on. Like I could see it as part of the entrance, then you just take them off. Cool, but
yeah, entrance is one thing.
The only thing they added was the mask and the suspenders. Everything else was
pretty much the same.
Wore.
Yeah.
So like again, I don't know why you just wouldn't take like that off. Like you could have gave him a cooler mask, like give him like the mask from is it 300 or Gladiator? I think it's Gladiator. It's the one where it looks like a lion's face.
Oh yeah.
Well, you know what I'm saying? That would have been dope. And then if you gave him, if you wanted to do the suspender situation, like with the cross or whatever on it, just make it where he could take it off. Like just give him like a pauldron on one side, and like the old, you know what I mean, like the one of the old warrior pads just on this side,
right?
And then you have the thing, and just have it all come off. The mask could be part of the entrance. Cool. Like I thought that'd probably look dope.
It just screams to me the a bit of a bigger problem when it comes to the main roster. Whenever we bring up somebody from NXT, we immediately have to change them and make them our own. When there was nothing wrong with the gimmick before, you take away Scarlett.
Mine.
Yeah, that's the way Vids views it, and Pritchard and those guys who run the show up there Monday Night Raw. We didn't create it, so now we have to do something that it's ours.
Yeah, have to make it ours.
Which is usually a detriment. It most of the time, hurts the talent coming up.
Which is a child's behavior.
Yeah, unfortunately, mine, one of those deals, but but at least in this case, he did defeat Ricochet in 90 seconds via the cross jacket submission. But at the same time, they beat Ricochet in 90 seconds. So it's, good for one guy that you made him look strong. The other guys like Ricochet, who should be getting more time and more of an opportunity, gets completely buried here. But his gear does make him look like an idiot.
If Ricochet wanted out when his contract was up, he could have left.
When was his contract up? Did he resign?
I think so.
If he did, okay, you got a point there. But I don't know if he re-signed or not. So, but yeah, if he did, absolutely, he knew what he was getting into. At this point, if you're on the main roster or you were in NXT and you have an opportunity to go to the main roster, you as a talent know what you're dealing with, and if you make that decision, that's on you. We don't want to hear you complaining anymore at that point. Like Zelina Vega, if you say something else now, we're like, well, you chose to do this. Now, whether or
Mm-hmm.
not maybe they made promises that, her husband, Aleister Black, was still going to be part of the show before they fired him, you could maybe argue that point.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they make promises they don't hold up on. But for the most part, if you sign that contract, you know what you're getting into. It's going to be a creative nightmare, unfortunately, over there on the main roster for the most part. Speaking of which, Moist TV, with special guest Logan Paul, was booed out of the building. Good.
As it should be. Logan
Yes.
Paul is not entertaining. I don't know
No.
why people like him. My kids used to, but they've outgrown that fucking phase in their life. I don't get his appeal. I don't. I fucking don't.
Well,
But
even if
they
he has
are.
appeal outside of pro wrestling, in pro wrestling he has no appeal.
Yeah,
That's the
but
thing.
they're not the look. They're not the first company to bring in celebrities
Well,
that
agreed.
are shit.
Hmm.
At least at this point, they haven't given a celebrity a prestigious belt. So
Yeah, that's true.
kudos to.
They
I,
haven't gone that route WCW did yet.
yeah,
So give them time.
thank God. Let's calm down.
There was talk that maybe Logan Paul would be getting a match at some point. Now I don't know if that's going to happen.
That's not the first time they've done that, though.
No, that's true too.
Stephen Amell did one.
He had a good
LT
match.
did one. LT was good in his match. Hell, oh
There's been many over the years.
yeah, there's been quite a few. So I can't really shit on it, but I mean, I'm gonna shit on this one because Logan Paul.
Hmm.
I don't get it.
I
I
don't
don't.
either. I mean, I'm just glad for once. A lot of times WWE will do things that are absolutely terrible. This in particular as well. And most of the time the crowd will just go along with it. Hey, all right, WWE's doing this. In this case, this crowd turned on it, and I was like, about freaking time. I wish
But I
they
don't
turned
think
on
they
some
turned
other
on it
stuff.
for the reasons why we think they turned on
It could be. It could be. It could have just been a bad segment, but to them. But at the same time, it just felt like because they announced this segment like right after the CM Punk debut on on Rampage this last
Yeah.
week or whatever, and I think a lot of fans just felt like that's how you're kind of programming Punk with
Yeah.
Logan Paul. Okay, now
But if your
WWE tried
focus
something of
isn't
those things
counter
at SummerSlam.
programming, then I mean, that's
Yeah.
all thing too. So
At least at SummerSlam, they tried to counter program with Becky and Brock. So at least that was a little more, it made more sense from a pro wrestling standpoint. How they handled those situations is another topic of debate, but that's for another time. So no one cared about this. Miz and Morrison argued during this segment. Logan Paul just left, and apparently Logan Paul was kind of getting drowned out so bad you could not hear what he was saying. And I guess during this, it looked like the Miz and Morrison was like, "Don't just keep going. We'll get him turned back around. Don't worry." And it did not happen. It didn't seem like here, but so Logan Paul just left, and that's when Xavier Woods interrupted, which set up a match. Xavier Woods defeated Miz after John Morrison inadvertently cost Miz the match, and after the match, Miz turned on John Morrison, giving him the skull-crushing finale. So thank God this team's over with. Long overdue.
took fucking long enough.
Yeah, I get they were a team before Morrison returned, but after he came back, Morrison probably should have never been put with the Miz to begin with. He should be given more of an opportunity. But WWE on commentary tried to tell us that this was a breakup of one of the greatest tag teams of all time. No, not even close. I know they like to tout their current roster and stuff, but come on, this doesn't come anywhere near the likes of Legion of Doom, the Rockers, Demolition, or any of these. That's just a few off the top of my head, but any of these teams from back in the day, I mean, not even close. I mean, nice try.
Not even from back in the day, but even current
Yeah.
tag. So like, I could see if this was the New Day splitting up, you could say some shit like that, but not these two. I mean, that may just be them being facetious in the fact that like, making fun of the situation in a sense by saying something like that to go along with their personalities and their characters. You could say some shit like that, but like in reality, no.
It's like when they called John Cena the greatest of all time. I'm like, don't get me wrong, he's definitely up there with championship wins and things like that, but the greatest of all time, I mean,
you can't just
it makes more sense than this.
You could say one of the.
Yeah, one of the, but not the. That's like putting him up there with. I mean, granted, he's got the same title reigns as Ric Flair. He's with Hulk Hogan who win popularity.
Then again, they say it. When they say greatest of all time, I don't want to say that's being subjective because that's not what I mean when I say that. Like, again, it's one of those situations where wording is probably needed, but I don't think they mean like he's the single greatest wrestler in the world type thing. I think it's more like you can't knock John Cena's career. You
Right.
can't knock the thing he's done. You know, if they say that about The Rock, is it true? Yes, but it's also he's one of the, not the, but one of the. You, I don't think there's really that distinction you can put on anyone
Anybody.
because there's always somebody else.
Well, that and even if you say like say The Rock is the greatest of all time, then there's going to be another side of this argument. People are going to say no, it was Stone Cold. There's
Yeah,
always going to be someone else that.
yeah,
So it's hard to
but you
pinpoint
can't. But you
one.
can say the greatest of all
Yeah.
time, and in the aspect of like, there's a number of greats that we have,
Mm-hmm.
but by saying he's the greatest, you're not really downplaying the accomplishments of others
That's all a
either.
matter of opinion, basically. It's subjective, like you said.
Yeah, it's subjective.
And 20 years from now, if they have a, let's say Roman Reigns, hits that level of that John Cena does, he's not there yet. He's getting there.
Hmm.
But if he was to sustain this for another 10 years or something like that, then WWE will say he's the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
And then they'll forget they ever said it about John. And that's where, that's the problem
Unless
I have
John's
with
there,
it.
you know what I mean. It's one of those situations you don't say it unless they're present. And but again, like I said, you can't knock the man's career. You
Well,
can't
no.
say he didn't contribute a lot to
Absolutely.
wrestling at the time because he did. In some ways, he changed the face of wrestling for
Yeah.
a lot of us. You know, the Attitude Era was great, but then the ruthless aggression era, he was a huge part
Which
of.
he pretty well kicked off
Yeah,
with that slap to Kurt Angle's face. So,
he smacked fire out of Kurt
oh,
Angle.
yeah, no kidding about that. But I mean, yeah,
But
Cena
yeah,
will always be one of the greats. I mean, you
yeah,
could argue
one
about
of
his wrestling ability. A lot of people don't feel like he's the greatest wrestler, clearly,
you could say
but
that
it's
about a
it's
lot.
more than just about that, though. It
Yeah,
is.
you could
There's a
say
lot
that
of
about a
wrestlers.
lot of wrestlers.
Oh
You could say
yeah,
that.
and
Like,
botches happen, which we'll get into in Dynamite here in a little
brother.
bit. We are going to talk about some of that, no doubt about it. We're
Hmm.
not going to always praise Dynamite. We're going to criticize it where it's due to. But yeah, in Cena's case, it was great on the mic, great merchandise seller, popular. Maybe not always the best in the ring, but he has his own style. That's all that really
Yeah, and
was.
that's what it is. You can not say he wasn't the best in the ring, but his style was different. Just like there's Ricochet's style of wrestling. It may
English
not
much?
be everybody's cup of tea.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But his style, you can't deny his way of doing things. It's captivating. Um, to bring it back to AEW, Lucha Brothers, they may not be for everybody, but to me, they're one of my favorites. Hell,
Yeah.
I'll go as far as saying the Briscoe brothers, not Briscoes asking as in
Pat and or Gerald Briscoe. Not him.
yeah.
You're talking about the ones from
I'm talking about the Briscoe brothers from ROH. You
ROH. Yeah.
know,
Which I
some
heard
people.
there was actually talk at one point, some rumors going around that they might end up at AEW or at least for a match at some
Listen
point.
to me. This is the same thing
Just
with my another favorite team of mine, God.
yeah.
That sounds good, but you don't want that kind of violence in your workplace.
I'm just saying, could be fun, some intriguing television for sure. But yeah, they
You
were trying
damn
to sell
right.
this. Oh yeah. So
It's
so
not for everybody. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
exactly. Not for everybody. Some people enjoy it, some people don't. But in this case, like I said, they were trying to play this off as one of the greatest tag teams of all time,
But
breaking
that's a
up.
lie, though. That's
That's a
not like
lie.
fucking.
It's not even close. Don't buy into that garbage. It's just like what WWE says. Oh, we had 51,000 in the building for SummerSlam. No, the real number was around 45,000. They always skew their numbers. They even had this report going around about how it was the most watched SummerSlam, most popular, blah 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 blah. WWE loves to tout. They're pat themselves on the back. That's usually the numbers are not always 100% accurate. So calm down, Roman Reigns. I know he retweeted it on Twitter. He was trolling everybody, basically saying
Mhm.
the real needle mover, which I get it. He's in character, and I ain't gonna lie. They even posted a video of a John Cena fan watching SummerSlam, absolutely heartbroken, and disappointed that Cena lost, and he tweeted out. He goes, "The tribal chief keeps his promises, kid." So again, no F's given by the head of the table here.
You can
Roman's
say
doing
what you
great
want.
work,
You
no
can
doubt.
shit on whoever you want to shit on, but
Yeah.
like this is probably some of the best work
Oh yeah.
that Roman has done. And the fact that you honestly let him off the leash, let him cut his own promos, give him the opportunity to speak on his fucking own, shows this is something you should be doing to a lot of your wrestlers.
Yes,
Not
it's
all,
not. Yeah, it's not rocket science, but the ones who
not
can,
all.
let them do it.
Yeah.
Kevin Owens can talk without a script. Let him do it. There,
Mhm.
of course, where was he on SummerSlam week? A lot of these guys from NXT, which is weird enough. If you think about all these names who were
Yeah.
not
What
on
was Finn Balor?
SummerSlam, yeah, Finn Balor, Sami Zayn, Tony Storm, Shotzi, Knox, Kevin Owens, all these people are not on SummerSlam. Guess what? All NXT alums.
And
Think about that.
I know everybody wants this whole AEW thing, but think about the names we just said.
Hmm.
Okay. Kevin Owens, Finn Balor, Sami Zayn.
Mm-hmm.
If they left WWE, didn't resign,
Picked up
again,
like
these
that.
are all names that you would love to see on AEW, but at the same time, you can't keep front loading
Well, no one's saying that.
superstars like that.
Or I'm not anyway. But yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, would it be great? Sure, sure.
I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon right now. But
And that's the thing too. What a lot of people don't understand. I know as a fan, this is what you want, but you don't know what they want.
right. Right.
You know what I mean? Like, would you love to see AJ Styles
Right.
in AEW? Yeah, because you would love to see him and Kenny go at it. You would love to see either him and one of the Young Bucks, him or hell, at this point, him and CM Punk, him and Darby. There's a shit ton of names on there, but like he said, when his contract's up, he's done.
Right. Well, it's
He
like
doesn't
Shinsuke
plan on going
Nakamura.
anywhere.
Everybody
Yeah,
loves Shinsuke Nakamura at NXT and New Japan, all this stuff. But Shinsuke Nakamura has famously said he wants to slow down. He wants to
mhm.
surf. He wants to do it. And guess what? He could do all that WWE, staying in Florida.
Enjoy
Uh,
his life. He's
yeah.
done
So he's made that
everything.
choice. And so,
He's went from wrestling, martial arts to MMA and
mhm,
back to wrestling.
yeah.
Shinsuke has been all over the world. He has done everything he's wanted to do in wrestling. He doesn't care about being world champion. It wasn't it for him. He got his WrestleMania moment, and then after that, he was sold. He said,
Yeah.
"That's
Yeah.
all I want."
Yeah. And some guys are just happy with that. So if they resign, that's their choice. It doesn't mean
Mhm,
that they got bamboozled by WWE sometimes. Sometimes it is. Other
mhm.
times it's like I just want to
For the
make my
younger
money
guys,
and
I believe yes,
yeah, like Bronson Reed,
wholeheartedly.
or he didn't resign. He ended up getting fired. But you know what I'm saying. If a guy
Mhm.
like that resigns, it's like, all right, I was promised this or this or something. It don't always pan out. But in this case, yeah, so for Shinsuke, it's good. But getting back on topic here, with the breakup of the Miz and Morrison. First of all, with Xavier Woods
I'm
being in
so
this
sorry.
match, where's Kofi Kingston?
Yeah, where is Kofi? Is
Kofi
Kofi hurt?
Kingston again. If you don't want to, at least because at least the one thing AEW does do, like on Rampage this last week, Jericho was not there. He's usually supposed to be on commentary, right? But they said he's taking time off to reflect and think about his future based on his loss with MJF. So they at least mentioned where he was. We got men and women just disappearing on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown. Scarlett disappears on NXT. Randy Orton disappears for 7 weeks. We got Sasha Banks disappearing for 5 months and disappearing again. No explanation for any of these people. And Kofi Kingston, add him to that list because we've not seen him the last few weeks. He wasn't at SummerSlam and he was not here. So what is going on? At least give us some sort of kayfabe reason.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, if he's dealing with some personal shit, like
yeah, just say he'll be
family
back.
situation, yeah.
At least say that. Say he's not here tonight. He'll be back. Fine.
Mhm.
But don't just act like we don't notice he's not there. We're not stupid. I know sometimes WWE thinks their fan base is stupid. And let's be, I'm not trying to put down any fans, but there are some out there who are just, happy about whatever's given to them. So,
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying? I'm not calling anybody stupid per se, but it's just like, all right, just let us know. That's all we're asking here. But yeah, it's just kind of that's a shame. R-Truth and Tozawa tried to attack Reginald for the 24/7 title at a park while he was getting ice cream from an ice cream truck. And Reginald did his flippy things with trampolines that were hidden from the camera, and he escaped. So nothing important really to go about here. Mansoor defeated Jinder Mahal via DQ in 2 minutes. Mahal got DQ'd for literally kicking too much ass because he would not stop kicking Mansoor in the corner after a referee 5 count. He disqualified him for that. So that's the thing. Mustafa Ali didn't get into the ring to help Mansoor, so they're kind of, again, building on that dissension between the two guys. We had a Charlotte promo. She bragged about being 12-time champion and her looks. Alexa Bliss interrupted and said her and Lily just wanted to stop in and say hi. They stared at each other, so I guess Alexa is next in line for the Raw Women's Championship. So, okay. Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax were backstage. Apparently, they're back together after weeks ago breaking up. We don't know why they're back together. They're just back together now. I doubt they even know. They face Rhea and Nikki here in a few. Elias Video Package said he had conquered the entertainment part of WWE, said it was time to conquer the wrestling part and win a title. So, what were you doing this whole time? Was you not trying to get a
I don't
title?
think he was.
I mean,
He was so focused on the music, dude.
I guess his career is an important thing. So yeah, then we had Nikki Ash and Rhea Ripley defeated Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. Nikki wiped out Jax
Like,
with a
why
cross.
would you have her like split him up and then have him come back just to fucking lose?
You're asking me? I mean, I understand. Yeah, I don't get it either. But Nikki wiped out Nia Jax with a crossbody on the outside, and Rhea gave Shayna a riptide for the pin. Sucks to be Shayna Baszler here. It's been like this for months now. Longer than that, actually. Nia also gave Nikki Cross a stink face earlier in the match, which was interesting. Homage to Rikishi. So Nia Jax using that to her advantage now, apparently. I don't know if that's going to become a thing or not.
People.
Yeah, I guess so. John Morrison said he and The Miz are done backstage and said he would end this next week when they go one-on-one. So there's that. We had an RK Bro celebration, celebrating their tag team title win at SummerSlam. This was shades of This Is Your Life with Foley and The Rock, or at least it appeared that way to me. They didn't go the full nine, like bringing out, Randy Orton's former gym teacher or ex-girlfriend or anything like that. But there was a lot of fireworks, balloons, and stuff like that. Matt Riddle did give Randy Orton his own scooter, so there was that. And he was trying to show him how to break it down and set it up and all this crazy stuff.
I was just about to say, please tell me he showed Randy how to ride a scooter.
And Randy Orton did use this by the end of the night. Not exactly like scooting around on it. But...
Randy's one of those guys who, again, doesn't need a title. Doesn't really need to do... I mean, he's already won multiple titles. I don't think it's about the number of titles for him. I don't think it's about the... He's another guy who has his legacy cemented in the company.
Yeah. He's doing what they're asking of him right now.
Yeah. But I think also with him, it's about having fun.
Let's hope so. Sometimes he don't look like he's having fun, but that's the character.
But that's part of part of the character too.
Yeah.
And I honestly think that Randy's just having a blast doing this whole thing with Riddle. Like, to see him out of that whole, tough guy, crazy, I hear voices, persona, and now he's being teamed with, Riddle. It just, for me, it's this interesting dichotomy of like what as Randy Orton, and then you get to see Randy Orton do the things or act the way he does on his fucking Instagram is hilarious to me.
Yeah.
Like, to see him, in a sense, relax with wrestling. Mm-hmm. It's just entertaining for me. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
And I enjoy it. But in the drop of a hat, he could be the legend killer just like that.
Yeah, and I expect him one day to, at the drop of a hat, hit Riddle with another RKO and this become a feud at some point. But it's going to go on for a while because they are just now winning the tag team titles. This, of course, getting his own scooter brought out AJ and Omos. They interrupted here, prompting a rematch we just saw a few weeks ago, which I will say this, though. Normally, Monday Night Raw has rematch after rematch after rematch. SmackDown was definitely guilty of this last week. But this week, this was basically the only rematch they had from the last few weeks. So kudos to them on that. Let's point out the positives where it is there, even though the best feuds they may be between right now. Riddle versus AJ Styles for the main event. Riddle defeats AJ Styles here in a pretty good match, but there was 81 camera cuts in the first 3 minutes of this main event, so Kevin Dunn, stop it. All right, just quit. Orton attacked. I don't get that shit. Yeah, I don't either. Orton attacked Omos with the new scooter, and Riddle hit the Bro Derek on AJ Styles for the pin. They celebrated as Orton laid out AJ with an RKO after the match was over, and that ended Monday Night Raw. And next week there will be Bobby Lashley versus Sheamus, Eva Marie versus Doudrop, and Miz versus Morrison. So at least they set up 3 matches for next week. We'll see if they deliver. Sometimes they do like to do this stuff where they promote and they don't always pay it off.
I think Miz and Morrison will be good. They're 2 wrestlers who can actually wrestle.
Lashley better destroy Sheamus.
At
this point, Sheamus doesn't have anything going on since he lost the belt, so let him lose. And hopefully Doudrop will beat Marie or Eva Marie, but again, since if they're going to stick with this Doudrop thing, it just doesn't feel like it's going to work for me. But we'll see what they do, and we'll move on from there. So we'll move on to NXT, which a couple of the better shows this week, in our opinion. I think.
We're going to get to one of the best segments I've ever heard of.
The show opened up with Cameron Grimes and Ted DiBiase come out to celebrate the $1 Million Championship. So back-to-back championship celebrations for Monday Night Raw and NXT here. Ted says that when this all started, he wanted to find someone worthy of his legacy, and he was testing Cameron Grimes. Grimes says that he's going to the moon. Didn't know exactly where he was going after winning the title here, but so there wasn't really a whole lot to this. Actually, a championship celebration with no interruptions for a change, so that was different. But it was just kind of, hey, I'm the $1 Million Champion now, which we'll talk more about that here in a minute.
Yeah, because I got something to add to that, but go ahead.
Yeah, we'll get to that point here in a little while when they have another segment. But it's kind of like, for this part one segment, though, it's kind of nice and refreshing. Hey, we won the title. I'm proud of you, kid. That sort of thing. And they moved on. We had Ridge Holland defeated Timothy Thatcher with a headbutt, followed by a suplex brainbuster for the pin. Tommaso Ciampa and Pete Dunne get into it after the match.
Let's not act like these two didn't smack the crap out of each
Well,
other.
no. I was just going through. But yeah. Yeah.
These. Let me cozy up here for a second.
Yeah. Belly up to the bar.
These gentlemen here.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what it is.
They weren't being gentle.
No.
Yeah.
These are some of the toughest motherfuckers in a ring, because wrestling is one thing, okay? It's you're supposed to give off the illusion you're trying to hurt the other person.
Mm-hmm. It's about making us believe that illusion.
There's a core group of guys in NXT right now who take that belief and really push it. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Because their matches are so stiff at certain points.
Walter, Dragunov for one.
Yeah. Kyle O'Reilly.
Yeah.
Thatcher, Ciampa, the dude he wrestled. What was his name again?
Pete Dunne.
Yeah, well, Peter Dune.
Oh, Ridge Holland. That's what you're talking about. Yeah.
They waylaid the piss out of
we'll get into Peter Dune, but yeah.
At times it was like a fight, and I think that's what's so intriguing about this core group of guys when they have these matches. And as you've seen when Kushida and Kyle O'Reilly win it, Kushida's no stranger to that either, because he was popping Kyle just as much as Kyle was popping him. Mm-hmm. And it's just like you don't get to see that often enough outside of that core group, that when it happens, it's like, yeah.
You
know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, after this match, Tommaso Ciampa and Pete Dunne get into it. Oney Lorcan and a returning Danny Burch arrive to destroy Ciampa, and Ridge Holland lays out Ciampa for good measure. Timothy Thatcher tries to save his friend, but between the two teams, it was too much for Ciampa and Thatcher as this segment ended here. They weren't quite late. I mean, Thatcher was laid out a little bit, but Ciampa was kind of coming to his age a little bit. So yeah, I'm assuming this could be a feud with both sets of teams here. That could be.
And I'm here for it.
Yeah, that'd be fine. That'd definitely be absolutely, like you said, brutal. No shirt, very physical. Carmelo Hayes had a hype video hyping up the finals of the Breakout Tournament tonight. Index had a recap video with Indy Hartwell and Dexter Lumis. A video of them getting engaged, I believe it was last week. The love her or lose her match stipulations be damned. We are now going to cordially invite you to the wedding of Index.
Be damned.
On September 14th, 2021 on NXT. So just a few weeks away.
This is that rebellious daughter going, I love who I love, Daddy.
I guess so. I mean, we're just going to skip right on past that we ever did that, like it never happened. But
it never happened.
Yeah, so they're going to be engaged for a little over a month, and they're going to tie the knot.
Fight true love, Eric. Okay?
Good point. I do agree with Brian Alvarez on Wrestling Observer. He talks like that this should, if they're going to book this for the wedding, it needs to come down to the fact that will Dexter Lumis say the words I do? The dude's never talked, or is he just going to, what's he going to do?
When he talks, it's like the whole Orange Cassidy thing. He never spoke for a while. And
Orange barely talks now.
When he did, it was like this most intellect conversation.
Yeah.
He's
like spouting off all these facts.
Yeah, you're like, really, dude? You keep your mouth shut this long, and this is
he became a historian. Yeah, so I mean that could be interesting. But yeah, I'm interested to see where this goes. No doubt, I'm entertained by it.
Lumis doesn't have the softest voice in the world.
Oh god, can you imagine if it's like really high pitched?
If it's like this real sensual, I see why you don't talk.
Yeah, really deep bass to it. You know,
you know what? I think I love you. Like, that was great.
I love you, Indy.
Why should it be this most soft-spoken and whimsical, magical voice? And I'll be like, yo, Dexter Lumis, marry me, fuck her,
brother. Oh yeah, so we'll see where that goes. But yeah, literally, what is that? less than 3 weeks away. It's not even that. They probably already filmed it already. They already filmed the next 3 weeks of NXT, so it's probably might have been on their last show. So if you want to see spoilers, it's probably out there right now. We're not going to go over spoilers here on this channel, but we usually will wait and watch the shows. But yeah, so we'll see what happens there. We had Caden Carter.
To the wedding, I'm going.
Yeah, I'll watch it until NXT falls completely off the rails. I'm still going to watch the show. We'll see what they do though.
I really do.
Well, so far so good. I mean, they've set up some new stuff, so we'll see what happens. But we'll get into some of the stuff they set up too. Caden Carter and Casey Catanzaro defeat Gigi Dolan and JC Jane. Carter wins with a neck breaker as Catanzaro delivered a 450 splash on Jane for the pinfall. So yeah, this is just kind of a highlight here and kind of played into the storyline we're going to get into with Gigi and JC Jane after this match. We had a Raquel Gonzalez interview. She says things likely are not over with Dakota Kai, so there's possible challenge or rematch eventually. She welcomes the challenge of Kaylee Ray, who appeared at TakeOver, so that's the second one. And then Frankie Monet walked up and staked her claim for the NXT Women's title after really not doing much on NXT yet, so I don't know if I care for that part of it. But it's a new challenger, so many challengers are set up for her.
She should be able to challenge regardless of, whether you think she's deserved it or not. I mean, she hasn't lost the match yet. You could challenge me. Doesn't mean I'm not going to beat the shit out of you.
Well, I just want people to earn their opportunities. 1 or 2 matches so far is not sufficient in my eyes to earn a title match when it comes to, storylines. But at least it's a new challenge. That's the one thing I thought of coming out of NXT TakeOver. I think I even mentioned it in my review that after Dakota Kai, I was like, okay, now what? Because a lot of their women's division went up to the main roster with Shotzi, Knox, and Toni Storm. So they really don't have a whole lot of people there. So I thought when NXT TakeOver 36 ended, I was like, all right, now we're bringing in the NXT UK women. Here comes Kaylee Ray, because we have no depth right now. But that's something NXT is just going to have to work on in the coming months, is building that women's division back up again, and hopefully they'll have enough contenders to kind of hold the fort until then, and we'll see what they do. Odyssey Jones had a hype video. The other half of the NXT Breakout Tournament finals. Then we had Kaylee Ray made her NXT America debut, I suppose. Defeated Valentina Perez. Never heard of this girl. She hit a gory bomb for the pinfall win. It was basically a showcase match for Kaylee Ray for those who haven't seen her in NXT UK. So nothing wrong with it. It's just a kind of a little bit of a squash match to a degree, but let her look good for the possible title match going up. Then we had Gigi Dolan and JC Jane in the back, disappointed after their loss. Mandy Rose entered, and she tells them to come with her if they don't want to feel like this following their loss ever again. So they started to follow Mandy Rose as the segment ended. So Mandy Rose has kind of been, another one's kind of been in and out a little bit, not really seen a whole lot about it. She was kind of I thought she was with these two girls a little bit already. She was discussing things with them in the back before. And now all of a sudden, I guess they're maybe going to follow her fully. So these could be possible contenders for the tag team championships or something at some point. They don't have tag team champions on NXT for the women, though, do they? Do they? Yeah, they do. Io Shirai and Zoe Stark. Sorry, I blanked out there. But again, they don't use them a whole lot lately, partially because they don't have a lot of challengers.
Yeah, probably because they don't really have.
So I just kind of forgot they were. I think they do mention them on this show at some point. It's not in my notes, but so yeah, they are still around. So try to work on their friendship, I suppose. So we'll see. That may be a challenger they try to set up eventually. Next up, we had the new NXT champion, Samoa Joe. He comes out, says he's here to fight, issues an open challenge for whoever's going to take him on. This is where we start to have a little bit of fun here. Out comes Pete Dunne, who they've both been having staring contests at each other for weeks now between Samoa Joe and Dunne. LA Knight also joins the party, which I think is interesting because Cameron Grimes just beat LA Knight. So shouldn't Cameron be the one interjecting himself into a world title? Now, granted, because LA Knight beat him twice.
Yeah, but this fits LA Knight's character.
True. So, I mean, I got no problem with it. I love LA Knight. I was a little, when they hired him on NXT, I was like, okay, you're bringing in Eli Drake. This guy, I don't know anything about. But LA Knight's won me over, especially with this Cameron Grimes feud, so I got no problem with this. Kyle O'Reilly also comes out. So this is kind of your typical Monday Night Raw segment, like a guy in the ring, and then all of a sudden all the challengers who want to face him come out. But Kyle O'Reilly, in one of the funniest parts of the week here, comes out and refers to all of them. He refers to Samoa Joe as Samoan Joseph.
Samoa Joseph, Peter Dune,
and La Knight. So this is hilarious. So cool, Kyle.
Listen, When Kyle said Samoa Joseph, I immediately jumped in our group chat like, did this man just call his other man Samoa Joseph?
Yeah, this was clever. I like this.
From this point on,
If
I
this was
refer to
scripted, he
Samoa
delivered
Joe.
he delivered this like it was not a script.
Impeccable.
So great, if that's the case. Now,
With a
who for all we
straight
know, maybe it
face,
was
mind you.
yeah.
He said the words Samoa Joseph, Peter Dune, and La Knight.
The night. So this was a
Everybody
thing of
in
beauty.
that crowd was like, yes.
Yes, that was awesome. With that, Riley was attacked from behind by Ridge Holland. That's when everything started to break down here. Ciampa ran in and attacked Pete Dunne, playing off the earlier attack in the show, which is going to set up a match for next week, I believe. Ridge Holland came in to aid Pete Dunne. Samoa Joe dropped LA Knight as Joe's music played to end the segment. Definitely highlighting all the potential NXT title options right now, much like they did with the women a little bit earlier, kind of just showing, hey, we've got some contenders here. Don't tune out on us. I know we've got a lot of rumors going around here at NXT, but so yeah, interesting at least that Samoa Joe has some contenders lined up. So that's good to see. Hopefully they don't blow through them all at once like they did with Carrion Cross. I agree with you. We talked a little bit about that at work and talked about maybe you should space that out a little bit, which would be good to see. So you would think Pete Dunne be first, being they've kind of been teasing that for a while, but we'll have to see what they do here for sure. This comes the next part that I wanted to talk a little bit about. Cameron Grimes escorted Ted DiBiase to his limo. He said that the $1 Million Championship is Ted's legacy, and he gave Ted back the $1 Million title. DiBiase then proceeded to hand Grimes a replica $1 Million belt as he rolled off laughing in his limo. But both men had respect for one another, and Grimes was like, "Oh, that darn Ted," that sort of thing. That was a good impression, by the way. So is this the end of the $1 Million Championship and the storyline in NXT regarding the title?
And I think here's what I said when we were talking about it at work. I don't think it was ever about bringing that title in for anything other than what it was for. Like Ted said, he wanted, to give somebody his legacy, and that his legacy isn't that damn title. Don't get me wrong.
It's about giving Grimes the rub.
Yeah,
is what it's
and
about.
That's what it was about. The title was just the backdrop to the situation. It was for us as fans, that title was the tangible thing that we can associate with the $1 Million legacy. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
But for Grimes, it's having that mentorship of someone like Ted DiBiase, who was in his corner. That was his $1 Million Championship. You get what I'm saying?
Right,
so for us, the visual of the belt was supposed to represent the feeling that Grimes had for DiBiase. The belt was just something tangible for us to see and understand what was going on. That belt was never going to stay around.
To me, it was all about the character development of Grimes. Yes. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I would love to have seen the belt stick around, especially since Grimes just won it. But at the same time, he got the belt back for his mentor, which
he did get the belt. What are you talking about?
Well, yeah, he got the replica, but he's not going to carry that thing around at airports. Come on, man. That thing is going back on WWE Shop. Let's be honest. But no, I got no problem with this, though. It's all about getting Cameron Grimes, pushing him to that next level. Where he goes from here, no clue. Maybe you could get him
to the moon.
Yeah, that too. I mean, you can maybe have him challenge if say a heel takes the belt off Joe. I don't think Joe's losing that right away. I would think he'd hold on to that for a while. Maybe he goes for the North American title. I don't know about that either. You could do that. Or Grimes may eventually go to the main roster. I'm not gonna lie, this is a gimmick that Vince would probably have some success with if used properly. But it would worry me.
I was about to say, better word that correctly.
I know, but again, I didn't think he was going to do anything with Riddle, and it seems like Riddle is being pushed to the moon, no pun intended. So, I mean, as much as I don't like what they're doing with Riddle.
I honestly, Riddle's push is probably due to Randy Orton.
Maybe.
Meaning in the sense that Randy Orton, the only reason he's getting a push is because he's with Orton. I think Orton is behind Riddle in the sense of, hey, this is somebody you should give opportunities to.
But it always worries me because we always give main roster crap, and Vince and Bruce Pritchard, all these guys who make the decisions up there, for not pushing some of these young NXT stars. With the exception lately, Damien Priest is one. They have been doing some stuff with Damien, so let's hope that continues. And of course, Riddle. They've been using him, but at first it was a little shaky with Riddle. There's been way more guys they've not used properly, and of course it makes me nervous because when they start pushing a guy like this, how long before Vince gets tired of these guys and stops pushing them? That's the problem. Right now it looks good. Let's hope it continues. But we'll have to wait and see what they do. But a lot of times they disappoint you eventually, and they end up getting buried. I mean, they pushed Kevin Owens for a long time too, and then look where he's at now. So I mean, there's Shinsuke Nakamura was another, AJ Styles for that matter. Even though he was never really from NXT, but again, he's done everything in the company. He don't have to be on the top every time with AJ Styles. But bad example. But you know what I'm saying? There's like other guys like Sami Zayn. They pushed it, then all of a sudden, not so much. Now you're not even on the card. But I mean, I get you. Not everybody can be on top at all times either, but we just have to wait and see what they do. But it just makes me a little nervous for guys like Riddle and Damien Priest for sure. But we'll have to wait and see. Let's see here. I lost my spot here. Okay, here we go. O'Reilly was approached by an interviewer backstage who was interrupted by Duke Hudson, who slightly mocked him, and then O'Reilly slapped him out of pure frustration based on what happened earlier, and Duke Hudson attacked him. That's the way I took it.
What Ike did to Tina Turner was a smack. What
okay.
did to Duke Hudson was the fucking.
He's going to need a dentist like Britt Baker after what?
He smacked. Holy shit!
I hope Britt's got some openings in her.
And
schedule.
They were so close.
It shot like a shotgun went off. Yeah,
brother.
Yeah. Now, again, the way I saw this, I mean, Duke walked up, and yes, he slightly started to mock him. But O'Reilly slapped him so hard, a part of me felt, Riley, you deserve this beatdown you're about to get from Duke Hudson. I ain't gonna lie.
Like, it was one of those knee-jerk reactions, like, yo, fuck him.
Yeah, and when he slammed him into the locker, I'm like, yeah, Duke, he got what he deserved. Duke served it to him, but then Riley attacked him from behind, of course. Hudson didn't do much, in my eyes, to warrant the slap, but these two will likely be getting a match soon, which could be fun, no doubt about that. They got to give Riley something to do.
Out of that, man.
Yeah. And again, I've noticed tonight a little bit, though, Duke Hudson's one of them guys, bigger guy, that they've talked about Vince wants to have, guys no older than 30, no midgets, so to speak. Duke Hudson fits that bill. Another guy here in a minute fits that bill as well. So I kind of wonder if this is just the slowly bit of the integrating of that new formula. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that. But speaking of that, we had a total opposite reaction, or end result here. NXT Breakout Tournament Finals. Carmelo Hayes does what many viewed as impossible and used Odyssey Jones' massive size to his advantage with a crucifix cradle for the shocking pinfall win here. That I liked how they did. I thought that was clever the way they used Odyssey Jones' massive size. That would be an advantage. He went for a nonchalant cover where he kind of laid on Carmelo Hayes, but Carmelo Hayes rolled him over, used the weight to his advantage, and got him down for the pinfall. I thought that was clever. If you're going to put Carmelo Hayes over, that was probably the best way you could have booked it. Yeah. So, you agree?
100%. And like everybody else, don't get me wrong, I liked everybody in this breakout.
All have potential.
They had. Yeah. But I honestly thought, especially after seeing Odyssey Jones for the first time, I go, yo, this dude is great.
Yeah, and he's going to. Yeah,
I loved his charisma. I thought he was very entertaining to listen to. His energy is through the roof, and his in-ring ability was phenomenal for a guy his size, using big guy moves but incorporating this sense of speed and urgency.
He reminds me of Keith Lee a bit.
Yes.
Can you imagine those two as a tag team, by the way?
Brother,
I don't think it's going to happen because, again, where's Keith Lee? Yeah. I mean, obviously we had some info about that.
Send him back to NXT, shit.
He might as well. I got a feeling like guys like Keith Lee could be getting future endeavored at some point. But
hey, he has a great future in AEW.
Of course he does, or anywhere for that matter.
Like, if there was one guy who I would love to see on that roster, it'd be Keith Lee for sure.
Oh my gosh, could you imagine him doing some of them flips with somebody? Oh my god. But we know Keith Lee's also been dealing with some issues as well.
Yeah,
so that could be
he's
part
got
of this,
some. He has some personal, with COVID
health issues
shit going on, health shit. So that's understandable why he wasn't there. But anyway, I loved Odyssey Jones. Okay, and I thought Odyssey Jones had this in the bag.
Yeah, I think I bet he did.
before the reports of the big guys, this, that, and third, I legitimately thought Odyssey Jones has this in the bag.
And when the tournament started, I said, "There's your winner."
Yeah,
just the
and
looks of it.
Look, but like I said in the beginning, all of these guys I wouldn't have been upset with if either one of them won. You know what I mean? But that match between Odyssey and Carmelo Hayes, like I'm watching, like, dude, there's no way Odyssey is losing this. But you're right, the way they played it off, and Carmelo Hayes used Odyssey's size to his advantage, told a great story, and the end result, it wasn't a shocker, but it was like,
Well, not only that, they've been telling the story for weeks that Carmelo Hayes has been beating guys bigger than him in this tournament. So it played into that storyline. But I think just everybody thought going into this match, there's no way he's going to beat the odds this time. Yeah. But he did, and it was a beautifully told story. And I liked it.
The crowd enjoyed it. You know, they were
stunned.
Split down the middle between the two, who they were cheering for and who they. I didn't say boo because they would just cheer for one and cheer for the other. So, I don't think you could have went wrong here either way. No. But I was surprised.
They're both going to get contracts. They're both not going anywhere.
For sure.
Speaking of contracts, though, William Regal does give Carmelo Hayes an NXT contract. I didn't realize that. Of course, I've not watched a lot of the NXT breakout tournaments they had last year. I didn't realize the winner of this got a championship match of their choosing, much like a Money in the Bank.
I didn't know that either.
So like, that may be a new thing. I don't know. I don't know if they did that last year or not. Some people who watched it probably already know that. Probably are like, "What? You didn't know that?" But yeah, I didn't. I wasn't for sure. So he's got a big decision to make about who he's going to challenge. I would assume it would,
North American title.
Yeah, probably. That would be my assumption. But I don't know.
Unless
obviously
they're going to be the tag title.
Yeah, you could. It doesn't say it has to be a single. So yeah, you never. I'm assuming it doesn't mean main roster title. It means NXT title. So we'll see what they do. But I don't think he's going after Samoa Joe. that would be suicide.
You may be used to beating up big guys, but that's one big guy.
Yeah, let's not.
Yeah, let's calm down. Okay.
Let's not put the cart before the horse. So you know what I'm saying. But good for Carmelo Hayes. Like I said, Odyssey Jones is going to be getting his own contract as well, and I'm sure a lot of those guys from the NXT breakout tournament are going to be doing the same. They probably all are already signed. Not a problem there. So definitely see more of these.
Duke Hudson was a part of it, and yet he's in a storyline with Colorado right now.
Yeah, it's true. So yeah, they're going to find stuff for these guys to do. Since some of the main roster have taken some of the guys on the NXT, they're going to use these guys to rebuild their current NXT roster. I think that's a great idea. Speaking of guys that could be making their push to Vince McMahon's new edict here, Zion Quinn. Never heard of this guy. I've never seen him. Maybe he's been on NXT before, but I didn't know. He defeated Boa here after he was distracted by instructions from Mei Ying. Boa walked into a flying forearm smash by Quinn for a pinfall. Quinn, though, was frightened by Mei Ying on the ramp, and Quinn jumped the barricade and hightailed it out of the arena. Smart man. But again, this guy fits the size that Vince McMahon's looking for. But he beats Boa here, which is interesting. Just kind of random, out of the blue.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it, per se, but it's just kind of like, all right, big guy, gets a win, fresh name. Kind of fits that mold, maybe.
Can't be mad at that.
So we'll see where they're going with it. But yeah, I just don't want to see all the small guys get buried. That's all. But we'll see what happens. I have faith that Hunter and Shaw, but even though I hear Hunter may not even be really in charge of NXT anymore, she's just kind of the figurehead at this point. Kind of like Paul Heyman or Eric Bischoff when they were the the executive directors or whatever it was of Raw and SmackDown. And they ended up getting fired. I hear that's kind of what Triple H is now, and if that's the case, he's not calling the shots. Which this main event definitely looks that way to me, which we'll get into here in a minute. But so we'll have to see what they do, but that's kind of concerning. Backstage, this was funny too. Gargano was trying to get William Regal to cancel the wedding for Index. This is funny, Johnny Gargano here. Funny lines between the two on how to say the word bananas. It was, that was kind of funny. Bananas, with Regal's English accent and things like that. LA Knight walked in, and he interrupted, pitching a fit about what went down with Joe. Gargano and Knight argued as they exit the room, and William Regal called them, quote, buffoons as the segment ended. So it was funny comedy for sure. Just further away, Gargano is not happy about the wedding. Diamond Mine trained as Malcolm Bivens cut a promo. Next week, Roderick Strong will issue an open challenge. So another open challenge. Samoa Joe cut one this week, and Roderick will next week. So we'll see where that goes. Also next week, it was announced that Ciampa will face Ridge Holland one-on-one. And then we get the main event, six-man tag match. El Legado del Fantasma defeats Hit Row. Santos Escobar pins Swerve Scott via a roll-up. This was a very WWE main roster style finish, which is why I had a problem with it. The match itself was good. Distraction roll-up finish on the North American champion. So the champion gets pinned. Out of all 6 guys in this match, the champion takes the loss. So that's main roster one-on-one. That's why I hated that part of it. The match itself, though, was fine. This woman I've never seen in my life, Elektra Lopez, apparently joined Legado del Fantasma, and she hit BFAB with a pipe, threw the pipe into the ring. Swerve caught it, so the referee was trying to get rid of the pipe, allowing Santos Escobar to pin the champion to set up the match between the two for the title, most likely. Typical main roster booking, like I said, to end the show. If this is the type of booking NXT is going to devolve into, though, that's not a good thing for NXT in the long run. But it's one big occurrence here. But again, could this be a harbinger of things to come? That is the concern right now for NXT. Everything else in the show wasn't too bad, but that and even the main event was entertaining, no doubt about it. These two teams have great chemistry, and it was fun to watch. But the ending ruined it, in my opinion. So I'm a little concerned about NXT, but we'll see what they do. Whoa, as I throw my phone moving forward. So, alrighty then, let's get into our last show of the episode here on the YouTube channel. That is, of course, AEW Dynamite for the week. The show opened up with Orange Cassidy defeating Matt Hardy. This match kind of took a bit of time to get going. It wasn't the greatest match in the world ever. It wasn't their best match they've ever had together either, I'm sure.
How did Matt get his face busted?
What was it? He took it was like a spinning DDT on the mat that Orange Cassidy delivered, and I believe that's where he busted his face on the mat. I could be wrong, but yeah, he was just gushing blood everywhere. I even saw somebody on Twitter wrote that perhaps Matt Hardy's nose is now broken.
Brother.
But anyway, so yeah.
Delete that comment.
So, yeah, I thought it was funny, though, because I'm into that kind of cheesy humor sometimes, if done well. So Orange went for a twist of fate, but Hardy countered out of it and hit a diving elbow for 2. Orange came back with a twist of fate for a very good near fall. A lot of people thought he was going to win with a twist of fate here. Hardy avoided the Orange punch and went for the leech submission, which looked a little wonky, by the way. Hardy had a hard time applying that submission. But Orange turned it into a hands-in-his-pocket cradle for the win. He was pulling his own tights to kind of hook the legs, so I thought that was interesting. I mean, both guys have had better matches. Apparently this feud's going to continue because Orange Cassidy is going to face one of the members of, what was the name of the tag team next week? Not Top Flight, the other one. We'll get into it. It's on this
Private Party?
No, the one, what's their names?
Oh, you talking about between...
it's Jack Evans is who it is, but I just can't remember the tag.
I can't remember their name. I can't remember their tag name.
I'm blanking at the moment. Next up, we had Malachi Black said he agreed with Brock Anderson's dad. He's in over his head. Black demanded that when the bell rings, Brock apologizes. If that does not happen, Black will take out his anger on Brock, Arn, Cody, and anyone remotely associated with the Nightmare family. That's the key line.
That promo was serious, bro.
Yeah. Malachi Black's doing good work right now since he's come over to the AEW for sure. So I'm interested to see where this is going. I got a feeling by the end of this show, I know they set up Lee Johnson probably for next week, but I don't know how much time he's taking off, but I get this feeling it's going to be Cody versus Malachi Black again at All Out. That's my assumption here. But we'll see what happens. I could be dead wrong on that, and maybe they don't have either one of them on here. But it just feels like it's building up to something. We've got, I think, 8 matches now confirmed for All Out, so that card is filling up rather quickly. But they may have 1 or 2 in there that we don't know about yet. But at some point, they're going to. I think next week's the Go Home show, I believe. So that we ain't got a whole lot of time left for sure. But we got Rampage in between there and all that too. So Chris Jericho and MJF promo. Jericho made his entrance. Judas it all, so the crowd got to sing along with music this time. He's disappointed because he lost to MJF for the 3rd time, and even worse, he tapped out. So I love how they played on the fact that he rarely does tap out, so he acknowledged it here, and even he was beating himself up for it. He put himself through all that punishment, but because he had to, it's what he does, he said. He had to beat MJF because it's like a mantra running through his head. Beat MJF, beat MJF, beat MJF. That broke out into a small beat MJF chant. Jericho said he would continuously call out and attack MJF until this is completely over. He's invited MJF out to hear his proposal, but MJF did not show, so Jericho proposed one more match at All Out. Which is, we all wondered why they weren't doing a match at All Out. Well, apparently they had a bit of a plan here. If he can't beat MJF, maybe he doesn't belong in AEW anymore. So he says if MJF beats him, he will never wrestle at AEW again. That brought out MJF and said that this is embarrassing. He told Jericho to just leave him alone. He said the only reason Jericho is obsessed with MJF is that he needs the rub from the fastest rising star in pro wrestling. However, while being able to say, I tapped out Chris Jericho is cool, he'd love the idea of saying, I ended Chris Jericho. He said, but that's legendary. He accepted the match, telling Jericho to be careful because he's better than him and he knows it. I loved MJF's shirt here. It said MJF 3, Jera Blow 0. So I thought that was pretty clever. So yeah, part of me, I don't think Jericho's planning to hang it up completely because we know about AEW so far. They've stuck to their stipulations when they've done stuff like this, like Cody not being able to challenge for the title.
I think this is going to happen. I think MJF is going to beat him. And I think what's going to happen is Jericho's going to take a step back for a while. He got over the guys he needed to in the inner circle.
And he started this company. They don't necessarily need him to continue to play with that.
And having him as a commentator on Rampage will get more people on Rampage.
Well, he was supposed to be from the get-go. We did on opening night anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I legit, yeah, I think this is going to happen.
It's Fozzy time, and it's commentary. See, I'm torn. You may be absolutely right on that. And to be honest, they've been during this whole feud. He's been putting MJF over from the beginning, 3-0 against Jericho. So at the same time, you could argue since he's done that, one loss to Jericho is not going to hurt MJF at this point.
Yeah, but no, I think Jericho, Sammy Guevara benefited a whole lot from Jericho.
Or
Pride and Powerful benefited a whole lot from Jericho.
Agreed.
He got those guys going. They're standing on their own feet right now. Jericho does not need to be there. Hell, he got MJF to where MJF is now. I'm not saying MJF couldn't have got there on his own, but you can't say having this feud with Jericho didn't help his career. You know what I mean? Like, it helped his career.
Right.
But
at the same time, I don't think if they beat MJF, it's that terrible. Like, I don't think that since they set it up that Jericho has to lose. I don't think they have to do that. But it would make some sense if this does happen and Jericho loses. I get that.
This only pushes MJF's stock up if he beats Jericho.
This is different to me than when Roman Reigns came out last Friday on Smackdown and said, if Cena beats me, I'll leave WWE. This is different because nobody in their right mind believed Roman Reigns was leaving WWE.
Bullshit.
This is possible.
Bullshit. This is that's we all know. Cena is Vince's golden child. Yeah, you could have believed that shit.
I don't believe that Roman was leaving the company, though. I would have believed that Cena could have beat Roman before he said that. But when he said that to me, he totally telegraphed the win of the SummerSlam. Now, it's easy to say now with hindsight's 2020. But at the same time, when he said that, I'm like, well, you just told. Now, I think smart people understood Roman was going to win anyway.
Then they're telegraphing this then. Like,
maybe.
You know what I'm saying?
But to me, this is a little different because Jericho is at that point in his career. Roman is not. Jericho has even talked about one day, slow it down and leaving and, maybe just becoming a commentator or Fozzy. So this has more precedence to actually believe it than Roman right now. That's why I think this is a little better.
I believe the fact that I think Jericho's done.
Well, he might be. I mean, I don't know. But I also feel like if he wins, it's not a problem. Since he has put MJF over this whole time. Now, you could argue maybe the whole thing's supposed to lead up to MJF winning and that be the end of it. You could argue that too. But I think if he gets one win out of the 4, it's not going to hurt MJF. But we'll see what they do. I mean, I think either way could work. There's also a way too where you could do this to where it doesn't bury MJF as much because they've been teasing for weeks now that Wardlow and MJF are not getting along. So what if Wardlow inadvertently or on purpose costs MJF this match? Why not?
Can't do that.
Why not?
Because this is too important.
Well, maybe, but if he costs MJF the match, Jericho gets away with his career, and MJF has an out. Like, he didn't beat me. I got beat because I was betrayed by my best friend or whatever.
And then we do what? Then we run this tip again?
No, the feud's over, and then MJF moves on to Wardlow at that point. And Jericho probably still takes a step back, maybe even, but he still has the option to wrestle again.
That's not how Jericho would want to win. He wouldn't be okay with just getting some fluke win here because that's not proving that he can beat MJF.
Well, that's a good point. That's a very good point. And maybe, I don't know, there may be a way to do that and still make that work. But yeah, you're right. That would be an interesting, it might be partially why they wouldn't do that for sure. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm intrigued by it. So I just don't feel like if it goes either way or the other, depending on how they do it, it could be done effectively and done well. Mm-hmm. It's not going to hurt either guy necessarily, but we'll see what they do. Definitely intriguing to say the least. So yeah, we'll see what happens. And I guess that is another. At least we're going to get the blow off. I would assume, regardless of how this goes. Yeah. I think this is it. I honestly think I don't know about the pit. I would assume the Pinnacle and Inner Circle are done after this too. This is the finale. They should be. I think it is.
I've been saying that for a while.
Yeah.
I think the Pinnacle and And more or less now, they
Seems like a
don't
lot of
really
them are going to go their
talk
separate
about.
ways.
Yeah, they don't really talk about the Pinnacle in
No.
Inner Circle like that. You know, they refer to him as Santino Ortiz or Sammy
Or
Guevara,
FTR's doing
MJF,
their own thing right now.
FTR.
Yeah,
They're all
which is
kind of
still
doing
kind of
their own
Pinnacle versus Inner
thing.
Circle with Santana
Mhm.
Ortiz. But yeah, Sammy Guevara's going to do his own thing. If they turn Wardlow, he's going to go do his own thing. Jay Carrier's kind of been missing in action, to be honest with you.
He's probably
Um,
getting ready to go back to the
he could
fucking
be.
MMA.
Yeah, so there are things you could do here that doesn't necessarily require the feud to continue with these two factions, and even the factions themselves could break up for all we know. They
Hmm.
might as well at this point. They're really not involved in it, which is good because we talked about too many factions in AEW and be put for
Hmm.
the fourth row. The Elite is the one that needs to continue to be consistently utilized because of where they are right now. But even after they lose the belts, they may kind of go their separate ways a little bit too. We'll have to see what they
Hmm.
do. But right now, I think it's a good thing to kind of back off, and this would be the blow off because it's been MJF Jericho from the get go. They were had their little dinner concert that they did, and they were friends, buddy, and now it dissolved. So this makes sense to end it here. So we'll see what they do. The Varsity Blondes were in the locker room. They might not have the bloodline bond that the Lucha Bros have, they said, but they're focused on their goal of taking the Young Bucks inside a steel cage. The Young Bucks and their elite associates came out to watch this next match as we had the Lucha Bros defeated the Varsity Blondes here to set up the finals of this Eliminator tournament going into Rampage this Friday night. Uh, I actually didn't think this match was that bad. I know this article here thought it was actually kind of sloppy. What was your take
I
on this
would
match?
I wouldn't say it was sloppy. Were there some things that were bad? Yeah.
I still think Ray
Um,
Phoenix is very fluid and very smooth for the most part. I think the Varsity Blondes, a lot
Here's
of
the
it
thing.
is some
It
inexperience.
wasn't on them. Uh, the two mess ups that I seen
Mm-hmm.
came from the Varsity Blondes. Brian Pillman Jr. when he went for that drop kick when Penta had oh, what's his name, dude?
Ray
Uh,
Phoenix, or oh, I'm
no,
sorry, Griff Garrison. Yes.
yeah,
No.
Griff in the when he does the power driver spot on the apron,
Mm-hmm.
he goes to drop kick him, and he totally misses.
Yeah.
Like even from the angle that they were at, where
Mm-hmm.
you could tell he totally missed. But they moved on. You
Yeah,
mean
they did.
they dwell on it? They moved on. The crowd didn't react to it either. They just moved on.
Mm-hmm.
Which is
They've got the favor of the crowd right now based on all the
yeah,
goodwill that they built up over the last year and a half, 2 years. That the crowd is willing to forgive some botches in AEW because they deliver on other things that, are
yeah,
promised to them. So that's a good thing to have from the crowd, and hopefully that maintains. Now, if it all continues, that could always change.
yes.
But right
They
now, they've got goodwill about them. So
they moved on,
yeah, they
and
moved on.
as they should, and they kept it going, which was fine. Um, the other one, it was another spot. And here's the thing with Lucha Brothers. I love the Lucha Brothers. I love Ray Phoenix. I love Penta. But sometimes they move too quick for
Their
their
opponents.
partner, yeah, their opponent in the ring to keep up with. And so then that tends to be messy because it's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, yeah, we're supposed to be here, but you guys are already over here. You
Right.
know what I mean? Um, the, so was it bad? No, nobody got hurt, and you really couldn't tell because like it was made up for. It was the spot where uh he did the springboard and he's supposed to do an arm drag. He does the springboard and like you could see where he was gonna go with the arm drag, and then they let go of each other's hands, but they immediately grabbed him back, and I was like, all right.
Right. I mean, and a part of this could be, to me, the reason why Varsity Blondes, that's a movie. But yeah, I mean, to me, that could be why Varsity
Yeah,
Blondes did not win this
yeah.
match because as good as they've been, and I'm glad they've been getting, a lot of good wins and they've been building them up. That's great. But I just feel like they're not there yet. And I think
Yeah.
AEW realizes that, hey, they've still got some work to do, but they're going to get there. But right now, it makes sense to put Lucha Bros versus the Jurassic Express, which are going to tear it down on Rampage. And
But
then
this
I
is
still.
me wanting that magical moment. You know what I mean?
I agree. I understand the
That's all it
feeling for
was.
that.
I'm a huge fan of the Varsity Blondes, but then again, I'm a
And I still think
huge
it would have
fucking
worked had they gave the
yeah.
belts to him, but because they are still kind of green a little bit in spots, I think they made the right call, and this match might have kind of brought that out a little bit. But I think based on the story they were telling, how the Jurassic Express lost the title match against the Young Bucks a few weeks ago because all the interference, I think it's going to be Jurassic Express. It makes sense to narratively tell that story inside a cage. Jurassic Express gets their, fair tag team title match against the Bucks, assuming the cage does its, job as it should in pro wrestling, and keep those out and keep the tag team match in the ring and keep everybody else out. If they do that, I think it'll make sense. And I think the Jungle Express are winning these titles off the Young Bucks and All Out.
Yeah, I've said this before. They needed to do something with Jungle Express. I get it. Jungle Boy is your go-to. He was your cash cow right now. But, do something with Luchasaurus.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Well, this could be like a Riddle, Randy Orton thing where they hold the belts for a while and maybe Luchasaurus breaks away later. I mean, it very well could happen.
Yeah.
I mean, possibly.
Yeah. You're 100% right. Because I don't think right now with the side story you're telling right now with Pac and Andrade,
exactly where I was going.
The best time to, if you're going to split them up, give them the tag titles right now. As far as Lucha Brothers.
You could, but Lucha Bros, I think you're going to get the better babyface pop with the Jurassic Express than you would, with Lucha Bros, which, don't get me wrong, they're kind of bordering this. I mean, everybody loves them, but at the same time, with Pac and this whole thing, they kind of come off heelish. So I don't know. I kind of feel like they're still heels at this point. But we all love Penta and Rey Fenix.
Literally called the Death Triangle. There's
right. So I don't know who's really the babyface in that feud with Pac and Andrade. But regardless, the match is still going to be great.
Right now, you feel sympathy for Pac because it's like this. He's just coming in and simply saying, because you're not Mexican, you can't understand.
Which is why I think the Lucha Bros are turning on Pac, probably it All Out. Which again, it frees them up to not be in this tag match, so they could do that segment during the Pac and Andrade match and all that. So it just makes sense that Jurassic Express, and I think that's the right call.
I mean, Here's the thing: we say you can't tell if they're heel or face or not, but legitimately, they're in the ring with the face tag team, right?
Yeah, they are doing heel stuff and things like that.
No, hold on. They're in the ring with after the match. Mm-hmm. From what I'm saying. And then you got the Bucks coming down and they push Jurassic Express into Lucha Brothers. Then they quickly explain, hey, whoa, we didn't do that. They did this, whatever. And then immediately Penta and Luchasaurus, one big boot and a super kick. And then all of a sudden Jungle Boy and Phoenix dive to the outside and their hands shaking. And,
good point.
So it's like, are they faces or are they heels?
Well, I think they have a mutual respect between the Jurassic Express. That's for sure. And
I
did like how they didn't fall for the typical, they hit us in the back. They clearly saw the Young Bucks pushed them into him. So I was like, all right, cool. They kind of teamed up against the Young Bucks, which is, again, plays in the fact no matter who wins.
No, they didn't see it. But they actually listened. And
that's what I'm saying.
Jungle Boy explained to him, I didn't do that.
Yeah, and they saw him on the apron is what I meant to say. So in that case, they're like, all right, they probably did push him into it. So they didn't fall for it. So they weren't stupid, superstars here. They actually had a brain. They're like, oh, yeah, let's deduce this. It makes sense instead of just believing, oh, well, we got hit in the back. So, some other companies would do like, oh, I didn't see it, so you must have hit me, I like to see wrestlers who have intelligence, at least so it doesn't insult my intelligence, in this case. So I enjoyed that. But, I like how they did that to where the Bucks kind of got their comeuppance. And it makes sense because it still leaves open the fact that, hey, one of these two teams can win on Rampage, and the Bucks are not going to want to face either one of them because of what just happened. So that's a good thing. So we'll see where they go with it. So the Blondes lose here, but the Lucha Bros move on. So we get that match Friday night on Rampage. Next up, we had Andrade El Idolo and Chavo Guerrero cut a promo saying Pac is great, but Andrade is better, and they'll battle it all out. So short and sweet. Then we had what I felt was probably outside of maybe a few matches on Raw, probably one of the worst matches of the week. Jamie Hayter defeated Red Velvet here. This luckily it was at least kind of short. But for whatever reason, this article here thought they both looked great. I did not. I thought this match looked pretty sloppy, especially the moonsault.
2 different matches. Then.
Yeah. So again, I'm kind of riffing this here with my own opinion, as I always do. But I thought the standing moonsault that Red Velvet tried to hit, for sure, she face planted. She didn't hit.
Wait, hold on. Before I sit here and just totally shit on this, I've seen her wrestle before. Mm-hmm. And it was a better outing than this.
Yeah, Britt kind of brought her to a good match, I thought. So
yeah. So it's not like she's terrible. I just don't know what the fuck happened in this.
Yeah, it might be Kevin. Now, I thought the couple dives she did on the outside where Jamie Hayter caught her. Of course,
Yeah,
they both
those
kind of
look
fell like a
good.
sack of potatoes. But at the same time, I thought she caught her well, so that's good. She didn't
Mhm.
just let her fall on her face. So good on Jamie Hayter there. I didn't think Jamie Hayter looked terribly bad. For whatever reason, I just felt like Red Velvet wasn't clicking.
Yeah.
So I just feel like she's still pretty green. That's just me. And even when she fought Britt, there were times I was like, Britt's bringing her to a good match here. But I just think again, one of the criticisms AEW have had is that their women's division is not quite as deep as some of their other divisions, but they are working on it. It's getting better. But I think once you bring in Ruby Soho, which I also think is happening at All Out, probably during the Casino Battle Royal, she'll probably be the Joker. That's my assumption. But I mean, of course, they've got other women they can bring in that they've had let go from other companies and stuff if you wanted to, like the Iconics, C.J. Perry, Lana is definitely coming. There's no doubt about that in my mind. If somebody like a Liv Morgan gets let go, I think that could happen as well. But there's options in there, and of course, NWA and all these other women that could be used as well. But I just thought these two they felt like something was just off. So not the best match in the world, but it wasn't, I guess, terrible per se. But I don't know. It's just,
good.
It wasn't great. But yeah, so Jamie Hayter wins here. She kills her with a choke breaker and a running lariat for the win here. Hayter and Rebel after the match attack. Red Velvet here. Chris Statlander ran out and cleaned house, much like she did after Britt won the match against Red Velvet at Rampage. And she faced off with Baker, who escaped to the floor. So we're getting Chris Statlander versus Britt Baker for the AEW Women's Championship at All Out. I know a lot of people have crapped all over Chris Statlander over the last few years, before her injury especially. But ever since she's come back from her injury, she's drastically improved. I don't know. She took that time off she got in better shape. She probably trained a lot more after the injury was healed up, things like that. So she's definitely improved. I think she's earned a shot. She's not winning. It's going to be Britt Baker retaining her belt, in my opinion. But at the same time, I think she deserves a shot to shine a little bit on the main stage. So good on Chris Statlander here. So we'll see what they do with it. Next up, we had the Dark Order backstage, who on Dark and Elevation, they've definitely been teasing the dissension between this group because of the fact that half the group feel like they should have helped Adam Hangman Page a few weeks ago, and the other half feel like Adam Hangman Page asked to be left alone, so we should respect his wishes. So Evil Uno said, the Dark Order is a unit, and units sometimes face obstacles, like a couple weeks ago when some members stayed back during the Adam Hangman Page beatdown. Reynolds had a problem with that, with what Uno said, blaming Uno for the beatdown. Uno told Reynolds to stay in John Silver's shadow. Ooh, that was a bit of a low blow.
That was oh brother.
But so yeah,
gloves up.
Definitely more dissension here. This is my personal hope. I don't think it's going to happen, but I'm just going to put it out there. I hope that in October or whatever, this dissension continues to happen. And, of course, Adam Hangman Page may come back by then and win the title. Maybe he does it on his own or whatever. But I would personally like to see this dissension continue to happen. And Bray Wyatt, if they sign him, he becomes the new leader of the Dark Order. He rallies the troops, and we get back to more of, as we talked about before on the show, more of that serious faction that Brody Lee had. And he can honor Brody Lee, one of Bray Wyatt's real-life best friends, and I think it makes a lot of narrative sense. But that's just my hope. We'll see what they do. That may not even happen. Maybe I hear Impact is actually really making a strong push to bring in Bray Wyatt, so that could happen as well. And interesting to note that Bray Wyatt did change his name on Twitter to just Wyndham, nothing else, just Wyndham. So that could be interesting as well. Joda for Brody Lee, or Bronson Reed did the same thing. So we'll see what they do with some of these guys that are available. But I just think that could make narrative sense with the Dark Horse.
I think Bronson would be great fit for Impact.
Yeah. I mean, Bronson is another guy who could go to a lot of places to make a lot of sense. Even if it was AEW, great. But like as we mentioned before, they can't sign everybody, so that's just the way it is, unfortunately.
You don't want to.
No, you don't either. You want to keep the talent that's already there, utilize them, and not bloat the roster. But again, getting another show helps. I still think sooner rather than later, Rampage is going 2 hours. If it does, it's going to have to move nights. I don't think on Friday night at 10 o'clock is going to work.
No.
I wouldn't mind seeing it on Saturdays. You could always use it as a lead up into pay-per-view or something if you wanted to. Or
I would love another Saturday night wrestling show.
I mean, why not? I mean, it was big all the time. You can always move the pay-per-views to Sunday. I know Tony Khan wants to keep some pay-per-views on Saturday, especially once I think the NFL starts up and things like that. I don't think he wants to do them on Sundays. I get that because you don't want the competition. So, it makes some sense. But we'll see what they do. But, yeah, I definitely see maybe Rampage moving nights and changing times. So we'll see. Next up, we had probably the most anticipated part of the show. CM Punk has a in-ring interview with Tony Schiavone. Schiavone said he's a wrestling announcer, but he's a fan first, so he brought out the, quote, best of the world. CM Punk come down to the ring. Punk was asked what the one thing was that brought him back to wrestling. Punk said, "I can't hear you, Tony," because they were loud CM Punk chants, much like there were on Rampage. This was absolutely deafening here. Definitely over, for sure. He mulled over the question before referencing all the young talent in AEW. There's one guy above all, Darby Allin, he said. Punk put over Allin, saying when he sees Allin wrestle, he thinks, can CM Punk still go? And that started a yes chant because he set up the crowd, whether intentionally or not, it got a yes chant. We kind of debated a little bit before the show whether or not he meant to do that, because the yes chant prompted Punk to say, that's somebody else's shtick. You're all going to have a little more patience for that. Mm-hmm. Which basically all but said that Daniel Bryan, a.k.a. Bryan Danielson, probably is going to be all elite. That's the rumor going around. That's the big scuttlebutt in the wrestling community at this point. So kind of much like what they did with CM Punk, talking about, we want to prove ourselves against the best of the world. This is all but confirmation in my eyes that Punk is coming here, but you never know. But definitely interesting that he used those words. And, of course, I got a big pop. When Punk was 15, he said Allin would have been his favorite wrestler. He doesn't fit the mold, not the biggest or the strongest, but he's got heart. There were yes, as I said. At All Out, Punk's not here to prove haters wrong. He's here to prove himself right, which is a good line. I like that. He acknowledged his wife, AJ Lee / April Mendez, as well. He said, "I love you, baby," and Schiavone closed out the segment. So even an AJ Lee reference. Don't know if I buy she's coming in because he talked about her being at home. But I know Britt Baker's also teased the fact that she would love to maybe have a mixed tag team match against CM Punk and AJ Lee, because AJ Lee was an idol of hers, she said, and possibly against somebody else. She didn't say who, but Britt Baker is alluding to the fact that Adam Cole could be coming to AEW. So could we be seeing a mixed tag team match of that? That would be great as well. Not going to lie, I'd like to see that. But we'll see. AJ Lee may or may not come in. But again, never say never. We'll see. Miro admitted in the back that he was wrong about Fuego del Sol, but he doesn't forgive Eddie Kingston. Not sure why he's got this big beef with Eddie Kingston. I don't think he's quite explained it yet, other than the fact that he's the Redeemer and he needs to punish Sid. But
did Eddie come out to Fuego's defense or something?
I don't recall. I don't think so.
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe there's something there, or it just could be a heel, targeting a guy. He said his wife will love him because he is the champion. So again, every week it's a reference to Lana, CJ Perry. Bring me the Mad King before I burn this place to the ground, he said. So maybe this gets added to All Out. Eddie Kingston versus Miro. Now, they've only got one more week and a couple of Rampages to go. So if they're going to do it now, Eddie Kingston was on tonight's show, but didn't have a whole lot to do with the Redeemers. So we'll see what they do. It could be a Dynamite thing they do before long, too. So we'll see. John Moxley, Eddie Kingston, and Darby Allin defeat the Wingman, Ryan Nemeth, Cesar Bononi, and JD Drake with Peter Avalon at ringside. This basically boiled down to Ryan Nemeth brought a chair to the ring, so Moxley and Kingston just took him out. Darby Allin and Drake were left, and Allin hit a stunner and a coffin drop for the win. So fun little six-man tag, but I think everybody kind of knew when this started who was winning this match. No doubt about it. But that's not always the problem. But I think it was a lot of fun for sure. After the match, Daniel Garcia ran out and very ballsy attacked Darby Allin before fleeing once Sting, Moxley, and Eddie Kingston all ran into the ring. That's a foursome I would not want to get in the ring with for sure if you're Daniel Garcia. But I don't know if that means we're going to get Darby Allin versus Garcia maybe next week, and maybe you get a Punk Darby Allin stare down after that's over to set up their main event. I don't know, but that could be what they do. Obviously, I don't want Punk and Darby to even touch before All Out, and I don't think they're that stupid. I don't think they're going to do that either. So we'll see what happens. Moxley, interestingly enough, does have a promo, I think, here in a minute. Yeah, so we'll get to that. Ty Conti was asked about the Women's Casino Battle Royale, as well as the Dark Order's tensions. The Buddy walked up and offered Conti a spot at Hardy's family office. Conti ripped up the contract, and Buddy slapped her, and they brawled. So this sets up their Rampage match this Friday, Buddy versus Ty Conti. So we'll see what they do there, but I'm assuming Ty Conti gets the win there. It is interesting, though. Every week that we've had Rampage now 3 weeks coming up, and every week there's been a women's match. So highlighting the women on the show, no doubt about that. So that's a good thing. Dax Harwood provided an update on Cash Wheeler, saying the nerves in his arm aren't firing the way they should. He's gotten approval for one more match, but Cash walked up and said they wouldn't stop until they get the pound of flesh. Top guys out. So I know they've been teasing. We've been talking on here about on Twitter how they've been teasing about how this may be it for them. This may be they keep questioning whether or not it's worth it due to the injury here. I feel like this is all kayfabe. They're not going anywhere, but they've actually teased like maybe they'd be done with the company after this. So I doubt it, but we'll see what happens here after this match is over. And I believe it's next week on Dynamite, if I remember correctly. Kenny Omega was out for a promo. Omega, Don Callis, Nakazawa, and Cutler were in the ring. Callis immediately interrupted Shivani, as he always does, and said all out they take out Christian Cage once and for all. That's when Christian's music hit. He came out and he played a video of Callis and Christian's history from Impact and TNA, with Callis booking Christian and immediately firing him. Christian called Callis a carny piece of shit, which is his go-to line for Don Callis. Omega said that clearly nothing has changed in 27 years, and Callis compared himself to promoters like Watts, McMahon, and Gagne. So that was interesting. I don't think I'd put him anywhere in those categories right now. But
not even
no, but he's playing up the heel gimmick. That's what he's doing. So I don't think he meant that seriously. But in his character's mind, absolutely. Christian completely ignored it, which infuriated Don Callis. Callis said that on All Out, Christian would find out what Callis has known his entire career. Christian is second best. Christian attacked, but before he did that, he started talking smack to talking about how Kenny Omega, was still being bossed around by Callis. And I loved how Kenny Omega looked at Christian and said, "You think you know me?" Which is the exact same line that Edge and Christian's old theme song, and Edge used, is I think still. But yeah, it's just one of those things. That was a nice little callback to Christian's former career with his brother Edge. There's that. Christian attacked, but was overwhelmed by the numbers advantage here, leading to Frankie Kazarian, the Elite Hunter, running out to make the save. Still don't know exactly where they're going with this Elite Hunter thing, but he keeps tracking down the Elite, and he does get his hands on him occasionally, but not sure what the end game is here overall, but definitely set up more for Christian and Kenny going forward. John Moxley backstage cut a promo noting that the New Japan Pro Wrestling man who's showing up for All Out is Satoshi Kojima. Do you know this name at all?
I do, but I can't remember his face.
They say he's a legend, and he talked like he was an older wrestler.
I wonder if it's like, I mean, we've seen him when they do the battle royales in the beginning of their pay-per-views. I'm thinking it's one of those guys. Which one, I'm not 100% sure.
Now, he didn't quite say. He said it All Out, it'll be a public execution of Kojima. So did he confirm a match between these two?
Yeah.
I know he teased Tanahashi, but they've got a lot of COVID issues going on over there with Japan right now. So I wonder if some of that nixed maybe that plan or whatever they might have had figured out.
Maybe.
So this could be a match, or this could be just a segment. Or I'm not sure if they do it now or on Dynamite. But yeah, they've got a full card on All Out, which is funny because about a week or so ago, we're like, all right, we got 3 matches. We need some matches here for All Out. And all of a sudden, boom, 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 boom. They listed them all the night, and we got almost a full card now. So we'll get into that here in a second. Next up, we had Paul White joining the commentary for the Factory versus the Gun Club here. For some reason, this article wrote the Factory won. That was not the case. They were wrong here. QT started taunting Paul White from the ring. So Paul White got up from the commentary booth and went up to the ramp and was yelling back and forth with QT. This was a distraction that caused... I think it says here Billy to roll him up for the quick win, but I thought it was Colton, but that could be wrong. I don't know. But one of the Gun Club members rolled up QT Marshall for the win. This was a distraction finish, which, again, you could do it sparingly in times and be okay with it. I wasn't as mad about this as I would some other distraction finishes because QT distracted himself here. That was the heel played himself. So in that case, not so bad. That was his own fault, so he deserved it. So setting up QT and Paul White going for All Out, which, again, I expect to be a quick match that'll end rather fast. So we'll see what happens. Next up, we had Dan Lambert pulling his best Jim Cornette impersonation, in my opinion. That's what he is. He's playing Jim Cornette. Even though Jim Cornette, to his credit, actually praised AEW. I think hell's freezing over because he praised AEW for what they did with CM Punk. He called it perfection. So if Cornette is giving him praise, it must have been okay. Dan Lambert... Yeah, he was with Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky. He couldn't believe that AEW fans want to see people like Sammy Guevara and Orange Cassidy. Again, stuff that, AEW haters, Jim Cornette, whatever you might call him, would definitely call out week after week. They don't want to see tough guys because, losers want to see losers, basically. Lambert brought some real men who will stand up to the woke masses like Sky and Page, and they will set an example. So I guess he's aligned himself with these two now. We'll see what they do with that. They did ran down the week's lineup here. This week on Rampage, it'll be Ty Conti versus the Bunny. The AEW World Tag Team Championship #1 contender, Jungle Express versus Lucha Brothers. And Kenny Omega and Brandon Cutler will face Christian Cage and Frankie Kazarian. Brandon Cutler's taking a pin here, in my opinion, so we'll see what they do with that. Next week's Dynamite is Brian Cage versus Powerhouse Hobbs after he got beat down a week ago by Powerhouse Hobbs. Orange Cassidy versus Jack Evans. We'll have FTR versus Santana and Ortiz in that rematch. Chris Jericho will be interviewed by Jim Ross, and MJF will sit down with Tony Schiavone. So good luck, Tony. And then of course, the current full card for All Out right now reads as this: AEW World Championship Kenny Omega defends against Christian Cage. CM Punk versus Darby Allin. AEW Women's Champion Dr. Britt Baker versus Chris Statlander. AEW Tag Team Champions Young Bucks will defend against either Jungle Express or Lucha Brothers in a steel cage. Andrade El Idolo versus Pac. The final fight with MJF versus Jericho. If Jericho loses, he will never wrestle in AEW again. Probably ever at this point, but yeah, definitely AEW. Paul White versus QT Marshall and the Women's Casino Battle Royale. So actually turned out to be a pretty stacked card, not all things considered, with a lot of good matches. So we'll see what they do with that. Next up, we had Arn Anderson in the back. It was asked about the experience difference between his son and Malachi Black. He said Brock's in over his head, but he's an Anderson. He's got guts. Unfortunately, good doesn't always conquer evil, but he'll go down with Brock either way. So this led to the main event of the show, and of course this week, Malachi Black defeated Brock Anderson. Black immediately cornered Brock and laid it in repeated strikes. Arn considered throwing in the towel, but instead he dropped it. Black demanded that Arn throw it in, allowing Brock to surprise Malachi Black with strikes to Black's quad. Black came back with an overhead throw and spinning heel kick for the squash victory. So definitely a highlight for Malachi Black here. After the match, Black grabbed a chair. He faced off with Arn Anderson in the ring. Arn told him to get rid of the chair and square up. Arn actually blocked the spinning heel kick, which is interestingly enough. So Black kicked him low with a low blow and hit the spinning heel kick, laying him out with the formerly known as the Black Mass. Both Andersons were left lying. Of course, that brought out Lee Johnson, another member of the Nightmare family here. So Black was not interested in a fight, which is odd because I wouldn't consider Lee Johnson a threat to Malachi Black. But at this point, they're probably setting up a match and they didn't want these two to tangle at the end. So that's probably going to happen, I'm assuming, sometime next week. And then we'll see if Cody makes a return here, if that ends up being a thing, or what they do. But
I'm not.
Yeah, you hope not. Well, maybe. If he does, I'm sure Malachi Black gets another win here against Cody. It probably will just be a longer match, I would assume, than what they had before, and maybe Cody gets some more offense in. But we'll see. We'll see what they do. But yeah, definitely building up this feud with the Nightmare family. So with that being said, any other thoughts on this show?
Other than, the women's match, I enjoyed everything else. I'm interested to see what they do.
Even on Raw or just Dynamite?
I mean, Dynamite.
Right. Like, sorry, I had to make sure. But
yeah.
But yeah.
I don't talk about Raw.
Hey, I tried to get through it quick. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I love the ending. Though it was a surprise, I love the ending to the breakout tournament. Thought it was great.
Yeah. That was probably one of the best things on the show. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, loved. I love what they're doing, and I'm interested to see where a couple of things are going to fall in AEW. Again, I was pleasantly surprised. Again, this is me because I was rooting for it and I wanted to see it happen. But I am interested to see where the Varsity Blondes go from here. But I think Jurassic Express well deserved and about time to win those tag titles. So I'm interested to see that happen. I mean, if that doesn't happen though, and say the Bucks win still,
if that don't happen, I'm going to have an issue because it's not so much that the Bucks, it's been long enough. It's like, all right, it's time. And not only that, like you mentioned with Jungle Express, not that they needed to get over more because they're over.
No, but they need to pay it forward at some point.
Right,
like I said,
right.
Don't get me wrong. Everything they did with Jungle Boy, fucking loved it. Great, cool.
The Elite needs to fall.
Luchasaurus, man. I want to see more from Luchasaurus, legitimately. I know he can wrestle. We've seen him wrestle. But what else?
And this will only further Jungle Boy's ascent. He's, win some titles that are lesser than the world title, and then eventually he'll get there to where he could become world champion.
Yep.
It's just another stepping stone. He'll, then you make him get him to win the TNT title when he breaks up on his own, and you just constantly build this over the next few years. And Jungle Boy's still young enough; he's got a long career ahead of him, as long as knock on wood, no injuries and things like that. So it just makes sense. And the Bucks, with Kenny's not probably going to lose to Christian at All Out, but whenever Hangman Page does come back and he wins the belt off him, the Elite's is going to fall and lose those belts.
Yeah.
The Good Brothers may still have the Impact titles or whatever, but outside of that, the main AEW titles will be going other directions before too much longer, and it's time for that as well. They've been doing that for a long time, and there's nothing wrong with doing it for a while. I would much rather see long-term storytelling where you want to see them lose, because if you just hotshot the titles each and every week to different champions, Charlotte, things like that, that's a problem. But when you got somebody like the Bucks who are despised because they've held the belts for so long, they cheat to win, you want to see them fall, and when it happens, it's going to be a thing of beauty, and I think it's going to happen here in about a week and a half at All Out, so that's going to be a great pop for sure. So with that being said, let's get out of here, and we'll wrap up this show for this week, but next week we'll be back with a full lineup of shows. We'll probably try to truncate them a little bit here. We only had 3 to go over. Since we'll have 5 to go over next week, we'll kind of truncate them down a little bit and move a little quicker.
Real quick before we go.
Yes.
Are you watching All Out?
Yes. So if you're welcome to come over if you want. I already said Nate can come over, so if you want to, you're absolutely welcome.
Yeah, I probably will. I'll probably bring Jackson though.
Okay, sounds good with me. So we'll work all that, and we'll definitely be doing a review for that show as well that evening. So you'll have to rush home, and we'll do a show for that before the night's out.
We could just do it if I'm at your house. We could just do it.
Yeah, if we could set it up, we might figure out a way to do it. But yeah, we'll definitely figure out a way to do it for sure. I got an extra mic and things like that, so we'll work something out. But with that being said, we'll get out of here for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed this show, and I hope you guys enjoyed the shows this week. There's definitely something for everybody, no matter what kind of pro wrestling, sports entertainment fan you are. There is something for everybody out there. So please comment down below. Let us know what you guys liked and what you disliked as well. Let us know what you guys think. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you get all the notifications when we put up new content right here on the channel. So until our next video, guys, take care.
I wonder what kind of cake they're going to have at their wedding.
Who, Index?
Yeah.
Oh, someone's popping out of it if it's a pro wrestling cake.
Fuck yeah.
Johnny Gargano.
Brother.